snap via from the Chichon is look. Such old the Sheffield.
Hello and welcome to Reflections, the show from Torch Trust that talks about faith and disability in today's world. I'm your host, Marilyn Baker, and I'm excited to be with you for the next half an hour. Today, we'll continue the story of Hardeep Ray, the former investment banker who now works to provide work and business opportunities for disabled people. Last week, we heard the first part of what proved to be a transformational journey for Hardeep Ray, a successful investment banker in the city. His life took an unexpected turn when he became father to Ishan, who has multiple disabilities including being registered blind. We also heard how Hardeep came to faith. If you missed it, why not check out the Reflections podcast, which is available on our website, as well as on all podcast platforms. But now, let's return to Hardeep's conversation with Lynn Davis to hear what happened next.
What was happening in your professional life whilst you found Christianity and whilst you were, where you started to be more accepting and more functional in a way?
I have to give a lot of credit to James Caan. So for those that don't know James Caan used to be on a show called Dragon's Den. He was one of the original dragons, and he is, I should say, a very successful businessman. And he was one of my heroes when I used to watch Dragon's Den on TV. And kind of very, very long story short, because I'm writing a book about this, I managed to get a job with James when he was Dragon within 4 days. And it was quite remarkable. And, you know, the thing that I would stress here for listeners is that if you are in a position where you are looking for work and you're not sure what to do, use your network. I'll repeat that. Use your network, because having drinks, having coffees, being honest with people, telling them where they are in your life, you know, not sort of, acting, but being very genuine about what it is you're looking for is a really important thing to do. And funnily enough, I will mention my sister at this stage. You know, she knew somebody that worked in James' office from a legal point of view. She introduced me to him. I had a coffee with him. I got on really well with him. He made an introduction into somebody in James's firm, and it just so happened that they were looking for a client director. And I met James on a Friday morning, the weekend passed, and I met James again on Tuesday morning, and I was offered the job on Tuesday evening. And it was the best day of my life, Lynn. It really was. I mean, I'd been through such a traumatic journey, and I think what was really special for me was that I didn't have the level of experience required to do the role. But James saw something in me from a skills point of view, and he decided to give me that chance. And that person that gave me that chance in that moment is the reason that I am the way I am today, where I'm giving other people chances.
Can you talk a little bit more then about what Kaleidoscope does? And is it something that maybe listeners might be interested in if they are looking for work? Is it something they can get involved in?
Sure. So Kaleidoscope first started as an organization. It was called Kaleidoscope Investments, that was going to help people with disabilities to start their own businesses. So at that point, there were 2 to 3 things we could do. We were going to help to invest money into businesses. But what we realized very quickly was that a lot of businesses were not ready for money. So we actually created an incubator program, which is like a training program to put people on. So if there are people out there that are listening that want to start a business today or would like to explore starting a business, then I would be very happy for them to contact us and, you know, ask for a place on the incubator program. There is no cost whatsoever as well to that. And we will help them to develop an investment ready business plan, okay, over a period of 3 months. And what we will then do after that is that for those ideas that sort of qualify in inverted commas, we will be able to introduce them to money or investment, potentially invest in them, and then work with them to grow their businesses through providing them with mentors. So, on the entrepreneurship side, that's what we can do for individuals. On the recruitment side, in the employability side, if there are people listening that are looking for jobs, then through meeting over 2,000 disabled people over the last 10 years, and that's coming from 65 different types of disabilities, Lynn, from 29 countries. Okay, so that's a very, very deep number of people that we in particular I have met. I really have a solid understanding of so many of the challenges that people with disabilities have. And one of those challenges, just one of them, is self-confidence and self-esteem. And they've lost that because of the fact that they've so many of them have been rejected or they've been offered jobs that people think they would be good at without really even understanding that individual. So we've created this incubator program for employment which will enable a disabled person to start to dream all over again, to forget about being told to go and work in a logistics warehouse or to work at a supermarket, cash and carry desk, or whatever it may be. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with those roles whatsoever. Okay, I've done some of those myself, nothing wrong with those roles. But there is a very big assumption that many, many people make that sort of people with disabilities should do a certain type of job. And that mindset actually then begins to build on that person with a disability, whereby they believe that's all they're good to do. And that's what I'm against. And that's what our program challenges. So it actually encourages those people with disabilities to really think hard about who they are, what is their value. Okay. And it then gets them to build a career pathway that is unconventional. So through coming onto this program, I'm not going to be telling them to apply for jobs, right? I'm going to be telling them to define the jobs that they want to apply for, define the companies they want to work for, and then teaching them how to approach those companies directly. And again, this is something that I learned from James Lynn in terms of how to really find the job that you want, that you love, that you're passionate about. And that's the sort of thing that we can teach. So if somebody that's disabled that's listening today wants a place on that program, they're really welcome to reach out to me. Again, there's no cost to that, Lynn. You know, we'd love to have people to join that program. And after 6 weeks, I can be very confident that they will be much clearer on a career path to follow and how to follow it. You know, what steps to take to be able to really get you into a position where you can apply for a job and take your career back into your own hands. That's what we would do for a person with a disability that's listening, and then for a company that might want to recruit people that are disabled, then we can do everything for them too. We can help them to find the people, onboard the people, and then support them once they're in roles.
That's amazing. And how can people get in touch with you at Kaleidoscope?
Yeah, so the general email address would just quite, and you can put this after the program again, then if you'd like. It's
Yeah.
info, info at kaleidoscope.group. And kaleidoscope is spelled Kaleidoscope and then SCOPE, scope, kaleidoscope dot group. So info at kaleidoscope dot group. We also have a website, which is just www.kaleidoscope.group. We really welcome people contacting us.
Kaleidoscope is not an overtly Christian organization, but do you find that you use elements of your faith in your day-to-day work?
I do. I do. I use it every single day. There are three LCEs. I call this life-changing events, so LCEs that happened to me. And one was I didn't really talk about it, but I was in the tsunami, the Boxing Day tsunami of 2004, and that was a real life-changing experience for me. Then, of course, there was the Ishan experience that I spoke about, and then there was James Caan. those three things have been fundamentally pivotal points. But actually, one very deep and meaningful experience for me was becoming a Christian, really becoming a Christian. And I now feel my life is led by the Lord. Okay. And I'm not so we are not a Christian organization. We will work with anyone from any faith, even if they're not of faith. But I like to uphold values and morals of my faith in the way that I work, in terms of transparency, honesty, sort of spiritual outlook, positivity. In fact, sometimes I have to learn to be not overly optimistic and positive, positive, because sometimes you can't help everybody that you deal with. But I feel very God led in what I'm doing. And I'll be honest with you, Lynn, the journey for Kaleidoscope over the last 10 years, the last decade, has been the hardest thing I have ever had to do in my entire life. It's the hardest. On the one hand, you're fighting an uphill struggle. We're trying to get the wider world to understand what disability even means without them being disabled. That in itself is a challenge, right? Trying to help people or make people understand that, that people with disabilities can achieve. They are very capable. They can actually help you to make money. Okay, because sadly, the world we live in today is a very money orientated world. It's just a fact, right? It doesn't matter how you dress it up, it's just a fact. And so many businesses look at taking on or working with disabled people as a charitable activity, or let me tick a box and make myself feel good that I'm doing something for a good social purpose. That's all well and good, but actually, what you need to realize is those people with disabilities, if you choose the right people and if you train and support them in the right way, can help you to make a lot of money. So it's really important to get people to understand that. But when I do my talks or motivational speeches or training or whatever it is I'm doing, I very often bring up the Lord and my Christian faith, because I say that it's actually what helped to rescue me from where I was, from this very dark place of being judged and, people talking to me in a certain way. But I never talk about Christianity in a way where I'm trying to force people to become Christians, because for me, it was a very personal journey. And I think that's the way it has to be for everybody else. You can't force people, but you can talk to people about how it changed you. And I think what it's done for me is it's helped me to realize that whatever situation I'm in with my business, however hard that may be, however I've been judged, however people think about me, whether investors think I've, made the money or I haven't, or whether lenders have received their money back or they haven't, or whether entrepreneurs have, received the money that they wanted for their businesses or they haven't. It's really easy for people to point the finger of blame at one person. But I think believing in God has helped me to become strong in that respect, and kind of stand up in that face of difficulty and find the resilience and the drive to move forward. And I truly believe, Ishan was sent to me, and my own kind of journey through disability and mental health and depression was sent to me to help disabled communities around the world, Lynn. And that's why I consider me and Ishan to actually be real change makers. I want our legacy to be that we have created an organization that creates fair and equitable opportunities for disabled people in a world that shuns them. Okay, it does not give them those opportunities. I want companies to follow in decades to come, where they'll, mainstream companies will start investing in disabled people. Very large companies and SMEs will start recruiting disabled people in the same way they recruit non-disabled people. And they'll do it not because they're trying to feel good about themselves. They'll do it because it's creating opportunities. That's what I feel very passionate about. So for me, as Hardeep, I wake up every morning. I pray to the Lord. I say to him, Father, I surrender my life to you. I pray whatever your will is in my day, you give me the strength and the endurance to deal with those things that are difficult. And you enable me to really enjoy and, be very thankful for those moments that I can really appreciate. I do that every single day, Lynn, and I'm not saying I don't fail. Of course I do, but I try my best every single day, and the Lord really leads me.
And finally, what is 18-year-old Ishan doing today?
18-year-old Ishan, oh my goodness, where do I start with him? So Ishan is the apple of my eye. I mean, he is, when I see him and he smiles, there is nothing I can't do. Nothing I can't do. My love for him is so pure, so incredible. And it's sad for me to say this, but he's had 7 hospital visits in the last sort of 9 to 10 months. But every time he has a hospital visit, the way that he and I connect in hospital is really remarkable. There's this concept of soul ties. Sometimes you feel you can be tied as souls. I really feel he and I are very, very tied as souls. So he inspires me. So apart from the Lord leading my day, and sort of giving me the strength, Ishan is the reason I keep going. He inspires me. He gives me that strength. He lives in a care home. So his life is that he's in a residential care home that have a school attached to it. He's looked after 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So he's got one-to-one care. He's a really happy little kid. He does some beautiful things. He loves nature. He loves the wind blowing in his face. He loves bird sounds. And although he's registered blind, there are different colors and shades that you can tell that he likes in the way that he turns his head and certain things. So he's a very, very sweet, very happy, very kind of resilient child that just takes everything in his stride. Yeah, he is my inspiration and my motivation and my everything.
Hardeep, thank you so much for coming on Reflections. Your story will hopefully inspire many people as it has inspired me.
Thank you for having me, Lynn. I'm so thrilled, and I hope everyone enjoys listening to it.
I'm sorry to say that we're about out of time for today, but we'll be back next week with new interviews and reflections. And don't forget, if you're blind or partially sighted and would like to learn more about any of the services provided by Torch, including ordering the NIV Braille Bible, our Torch Together holidays, our accessible books and resources, or our groups, our client services team would be very happy to speak to you. The number to call for information and for song requests is 01858 438 260. That's 01858 438 260. Or you can email info@torchtrust.org. You can also find us on social media. Just search for Torch Trust on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. I'm sorry to say that we have come to the end now. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reflections. So until next week, from me, Marilyn, and everyone on the Reflections team, goodbye and God bless.
You've been listening to Reflections from Torch Trust.